One very moist flag being waved enthusiastically, as ever, by the Japanese fans. So getting ready, as we just heard, for the top 6 in qualifying to go out and face off against each other. And Honda again with a slight disadvantage here, because Esteban Guerreri honestly probably really hasn't watched more than one of these, and then not that closely, because he'll have been out of qualifying, debriefing with the engineers, thinking about where he's going to find some more pace, what they're going to do with the car, where he's going to find it himself. And now he's actually got to go into this with Honda desperately playing catch-up, having lost all their points from China to a Volvo team that have got not just one step on them, but a 5-second head start.
Yeah, which as you touched on, Martin, just for any confusion for people watching, it hasn't been updated on the website yet, so but the points are as was shown on the screen. Just so Honda do have a fairly sizable deficit now. They've got to start trying making inroads in with 3 rounds left to go. They've got to try and make some headway, and they've been doing a great job so far with the qualifying, and they should be able to back that up with a strong MAC3, but they do need every point they can get hold of from here on in. Exactly right.
Ryo Michigami, obviously the centre of attention for the Japanese, and particularly for Japanese TV. But the pressure is going to be on Esteban Guerreri, because he is the man who will be needing to try and work out exactly how all of this stuff works. The points gap is 64.5 points in favour of Volvo, and for Honda to close that and overtake them again,
starting the Mexican wave
in 2 race weekends, in 3 race weekends, is going to be pretty tough indeed. I mean, it will require a major disaster for Volvo, and realistically Honda can't afford, if they're ever going to try and close that gap, they can't afford to have any half points races, because then that just, you know, neuters your attack. If you have a really good race week and it's all half points, then you haven't had a really good race week at all. You've had a really quite lamentable race week, even if you may have been the fastest of the cars. Because they're second in the championship, they get the chance to go first. So the cars will go out, and they will line up on the start line, side by side by side. So where's the sensible place for Esteban Guerreri to be? 3rd?
I think they've got to see wherever they start exactly. And just wherever they go. You know, exactly. we go over this scenario every time,
but then you see, every other time that we've done this, apart from the very first time we did it, or the first couple of times we did it, all the drivers have been regulars in the same team. This time you've got a guy who doesn't know his teammates well, and
you know, you could look at it.
If he outstarts both of them,
you could look at it of one of 3 ways. One, it's better for Michigami to go first because he knows the wet lines and he knows the thing. Secondly, you could say, oh, let's put Michelitz at the front because he's obviously been the fastest of the 3 so far. He's blistering pole lap there. And then you could say, well, let's have Esteban Guerreri first because then the other 2 can finish right on his tail. But I think that's probably the scenario you don't want. Yeah. You want one of the other 2 to lead the way. Yeah. And obviously they know starting the car, getting it away from the line, so it would make sense that they're going to lead, and Guerreri can just follow in the wheel tracks, hopefully. Yeah.
It is most likely that they will get away cleaner than he does. Michigami cantering away there, and Norby behind him, and then Esteban behind him. So yeah, and I'm sure they will have dictated to the drivers probably only how they line up on the grid. So Rio, you go left, Norby, you go in the middle, Esteban, you go on the inside, or whatever it is. And after that, okay.
Yeah, they'll be going, if there's a 50-50, you just got to back out of it.
Yep.
And
sort it out yourselves.
looks like a lot of FN2 and some Integras and a lot of Civics up there where there's a big...
Yes, I'm not sure it is a Marshall's car park necessarily, although obviously this is a very Honda-centric facility. Just an awful lot of Hondas there. I did notice that actually. Every time we've had that shot, yeah, there's not many Nissans to be seen in that little lot.
I think there's more cars up there than there are fans in the grandstand.
I'm afraid in weather conditions like this, I'm not surprised.
They're all taking shelter.
I have to say the weather here is much, much worse than the WRC is experiencing Wales Rally GB. You don't often say that about a racetrack. The Honda team on the grid, ready to get MAC3 underway. All three cars will go as they are given the lights. And away they go. Slow start from Rio Michigami on the right-hand side as we look at it. Driver's right, and he's going to have to tuck in behind Norby Mikulits and Esteban Guerreri. Maybe that's not the worst place for the circuit knowledge to be. Norby, the fastest of the three. And there wasn't a lot to choose between Guerreri and Michigami, but if one of you's not going to be able to see anything at all, Matt Neal, it might not be a bad idea for the guy who could probably drive around this with his eyes closed in his sleep for that to be that guy. Yeah, they're going to do 2 laps in this this MAC3, and so once past the pits, and it's the fastest time from start to finish, from lights to flag. Now we're already seeing from Guerreri what the problems are going to be in the race very shortly, which is visibility. One car in front, and he's already pulling out down every straight, out of the spray to try and see where he's going.
Yeah, all three of them have just got to keep it super neat and tidy here. Michigami's actually been dropped, which surprises me.
But you see, it doesn't matter on this lap. It only matters at the end of the second flying lap, and hopefully his local knowledge will allow him to close in from there. Did hear Alessandro Marinari saying that the tyres that they used in MAC3, I think what I understood from what he was saying was that they were not using brand new MAC3 only tyres, they were using previously used tyres because they wanted to keep their fresh and unworn deep groove sets for the races.
That would make sense.
Yeah. My understanding, though, was that if you went through to MAC3, the tyres for MAC3 did not come out of your normal allocation, because not everybody goes through. So it's unfair on the 5 that go through, not to MAC3, that go through into Q3. Yeah. It's unfair on them that they have to do more laps, or 2-3 extra laps, compared to everybody else. My understanding was that you got a new set of tyres. Maybe there just aren't that many wets here, as we talked about earlier.
Which you can see if you've got to give the tyres back. Which I thought they had to do with the slicks.
Yes.
So it makes sense they have to do that with wets.
Yeah. But maybe they just aren't.
But then you're going out on completely unscrubbed wets. Yeah. Which is not the best.
And maybe there just aren't that many wets here that they can give every car a set of wets. Because you'd have to be you'd have to give it to every car in case something freaky happened. You can't have Q3 happening and then saying, oh, sorry, we didn't give them any tyres, didn't think they'd get through.
Oh, Guerreri way out wide there.
And Michigami is not dropping any further back, but he's sort of almost equidistant from Guerreri as Guerreri is from Mikulits. And I'm wondering whether that is just a visibility issue.
I think it's an issue that 2 aren't as fast as the first guy.
No, that is true, but didn't think that Rio was that much
been
slower.
The Achilles heel in speed.
Yeah,
for this year.
But
we
again,
have to admit that.
Everywhere he's gone has been a track he's never raced on before. This is the first time he's come into MAC3 or come to a race meeting where he knows the track. Now, the opposite is true of Esteban, because he didn't race here last year. Did he? No. Did he? No. No. He only did Argentina last year, didn't he? So Michigami knows the track like the back of his hand. Guerreri has never been here before. So Michigami should, by rights, be climbing all over him. Sweeping out of turn 11 and dropping down under the speedway banking. Those have got to be school cars, haven't they? It's far too many Integra Type R kind of things in there.
That'll be an owners club sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or an employees. Well, there's the benchmark we've got to go for. Put the target in Volvo's sights.
Between garage 230.
So the Hondas head towards Parc Fermé, the Volvos completing their outlap. And like the Hondas, they will come to the grid, line up abreast. And it's the three regular teammates, Nesta Girolami, Ted Björk, Nicky Katzberg. And we always say that you're only as strong as the weakest link in your chain. And from the beginning of the season, again, all this going to new circuits that he doesn't know has meant that Girolami has been struggling with that element when it comes down to really putting in the 1 or 2 flying laps. Once you get into race itself, then the pace is there, because the ultimate edge of raw speed in qualifying or a MAC3 is sort of taken out of it by having to mitigate your speed to race. But now I don't think that's the case so much. It was a pretty unified bit of electronic rev control there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, very neatly away. On board with Ted Björk, he's at the tail of the queue. Nesta Girolami in the centre.
Pressure's definitely on the Volvo crew now. Honda have got a solid MAC3 under the belt, so it's swung back the other way.
Yep. And although, as we saw, the lead driver dropped the other two, the lead driver was the man who went half a second quicker than anybody else in qualifying. So if he hadn't dropped the other two, that might have been a bit of an issue. Nicky Katzberg leading the Volvo trio out from inside the oval speedway. Again,
Shows how efficient these racing wet tyres, the amount of spray they throw into the air.
Well, and there's also some of that underbody aero ducting as well. That's chucking it up in the air as well. That low splitter, the nose down attitude of the car all helps to just give you a little bit of...
Suck the car down.
Yeah, a little bit of underbody.
Accelerates the air underneath the car and obviously out the back.
It is still raining relentlessly, I'm afraid. It could be a lot harder. Ooh, wow. After one sector.
Well, the one thing they must do with their championship position is just finish.
Yep.
Whatever ever happens. Because if they lose a car, then they lose all the points for MAC3, so...
Yep. Yes, if somebody bins it in the gravel, then that's not good. Well,
Katzberg seems to be holding his end up.
Yeah. You can hear that's Paul Ridgway closest to us. Nicky Katzberg's engineer. But the other two, Nesta Girolami and Ted Björk, they're struggling as well. Now again, maybe like the Honda guys, they have used tyres, or are using tyres now, that are not as full of tread. And don't forget that as long as the cars make it round together, it doesn't matter how much slower they are than Honda, they're only going to lose a certain number of points, because you can only finish second or first, and this is not going to materially affect the championship. They can afford to come third in this and the remaining 2 MAC3s without really making a massive dent in their championship points lead.
Nicky, don't take any risk. 1.8 down on Honda.
Yeah, so just drive round all together. As long as the first and the third car are close enough together, and they are at the moment, then they will be considered to have completed it. So don't take any risks. We'll surrender these few points. And if by some crazy, freaky, weird miracle Honda get close enough to challenge in the final race weekend, then we'll have to do something about it at that stage.
Shows you how horrible it is there going up the straight, doesn't it?
Do you know, I think the rain is actually getting worse. I think it has been getting worse since the end of qualifying. I wonder whether Q3 it was actually raining harder. Hard to tell when you're inside. Probably easier to know if you were stood in the pit lane or out on one of the flag posts like the marshals. And look, you know, for Volvo, everybody wants to win everything. You understand that you don't always get the chance to win everything. So, second by 2.5 seconds.
Track was better, though. Track was better.
That's where I struggle to get with this MAC3 because...
Right, cool the whole time, follow the marshal's instructions, park firming.
If they are behind by the second, third sector on the first lap, then they just go, right, abort it, bring it home.
Yeah.
So it's, from that point, then it's not even a race is on.
Well, it is unfortunate now that we're down to 2 manufacturers and we don't have 3 or 4, because then actually there's a lot more to play for. Because basically, if you get to the end of the first lap and you're not in the ballpark, then yeah, okay, select top gear and cruise home, and you're only going to lose a certain number of points. Of course, if you lose those points every single time you go out, then that's going to become an issue. If you can never win MAC3, then that is an issue. But it's been fairly even between the teams, you know, one week and one the next, not necessarily turn and turn about, but seems in my head to have been fairly even in terms of who's won and who hasn't. Unlike previous years when basically required somebody with a rocket launcher to stop Citroën winning it. So a MAC3 win for Honda. They've got 3 quick cars. And much in the same way that Brendan Hartley seems to be driving his way very quickly into a Toro Rosso seat, were Thiago Monteiro not to be fit for Macau, and if there's one track you don't want to be having an incident at, that's the one, I would say. I think Esteban Guerreri may well actually have a set of overalls that say Castrol Honda on them next time out.
But obviously Guerreri's he's running this weekend because Tarquini's got commitments. Will they bring Tarquini back for that one? But you could argue the case, has Guerreri done a better job this weekend than Tarquini did? Tarquini did a great job, but he did make a few mistakes.
Well, you know, Gabrielli was the natural...
conditions were awful.
He was the natural choice, wasn't he? He knows the team, the team know him, he knows the car, he helped the development, all of that stuff. You know, everything there was going, you know, who are you going to call? Of course. You know, he's your #1 phone call, as long as you didn't part on, you know, such bad terms that he's not going to answer the phone, and that clearly wasn't the case. So that helps the Honda team close a fraction in the championship standings. The gap now down to I can't subtract. Was that the gap, 59 points? I couldn't work out quite what that graphic meant. Yes, 59 points behind now. So that helps Honda close up, and MAC3 comes to a little rainy end. I imagine that Alex will be waiting to talk to the Honda boys when they emerge from their cars. Ted Björk has bailed out of his. It's not especially a cold day, but it is a very wet day, I'm afraid.
Gang, we need drivers if possible.
So again, another element of Esteban Guerreri's lack of knowledge of what goes on in MAC3.
Yeah, we can hear.
Have to go and talk to Alex afterwards.
Yeah, we can hear Alex's persuasive nature in the background.
Yeah, I need the drivers, and if I don't get them, I'm going to stamp my feet, and you won't want that.
There's Alex making a sharp exit back to the hotel, by the looks.
No, not yet.
No,
not yet.
Still hunting down drivers.
Well, hunting down drivers, then of course we've got a couple of races to get through as well. So yeah, normally MAC3 marks the end of on-track proceedings for a Saturday for World Touring Cars. However, it ain't Saturday and it ain't the end of the day.
A lot more fun to be had yet.
A few more witches' brooms swishing. And again, heads up to all the boys and girls in orange here.
That was a nice MAC3 for your debut.
Yes, it was very nice, thank you. Congratulations to the Honda team. A MAC3 win, it feels always very good. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm catching up the pace. I had Norby in front. It was a very good pace from him and me as well. Adapting, you know, to new situations, but so far so good. I'm very pleased with all the team, so very thankful.
It looked like you were working very well as a team. What was it like out there, though, in these conditions to be behind each other with the spray?
It's tough. For me, it was hard to be behind Norby, and I heard Rio that was behind both of us, and it's really difficult to see anything. So yeah, we will have just to manage that. You know, everybody will have the same problem except the first or the second maybe. But yeah, it's going to be a challenging one. That's why we are racing drivers. No risk, no fun. So let's see how it goes.
Good result, Esteban, and good result for Honda too.
Yes, very happy. Thank you.
No risk, no fun.
They can have very mixed weather conditions in Argentina, though, can't they? So.
Crikey, yeah, no kidding.
So it's not as though they're not used to that.
No. I mean, he'll be used to cold, filthy weather and equally very hot and sunny weather.